Hey guys, welcome back to Inventing a Better You. My name is Valentin, and in today's video, I want to share with you a really interesting resource that I've been using to identify some of the most hyped and trending stocks currently. So it's called swaggystocks.com, and practically this is a data scraping tool that goes into a number of media outlets and takes information about the most discussed stocks, exactly as I mentioned before, and tries to create the sort of a market sentiment analysis for it. So let's see, how does this work? Well, we can start from the top here. The first option is to look at the stock market sentiment. So it does like an online chatter and ticker sentiment, and it's shown here in this graph. We'll just click on view more so it's a bit easier for you to see. Now, where this is important is you can kind of get an idea of what people are currently talking about, and some of these stocks could be the next big thing. One of the stocks identified through this type of research analysis was Gamestop, and I believe it's still here. So if we go by comment volume, yeah, GME right here. So 115 average, 557 average. So Gamestop was one of the biggest discussion topics on the Wall Street Bets subreddit forums. That's seen unprecedented rises in stock price in the past months and drops. And this is the perfect example of a meme stock, which is essentially a company that the stock price is extremely volatile due to hype and not the company's financials. So just like we saw for a GameStop, the same type of trends could happen for any of these that we're seeing a lot of discussions on. So any of these companies could become the next GameStop. Of course, we have some really honorable mentions like Tesla, SPY. This is basically an ETF of the S&P 500. So not as risky, I would say, as GameStop. So the takeaway message from this is you can get a sense of what's been currently discussed, and you should take each one of these tickers that you would find interesting and do a little market analysis on it and see if this potentially could be a good time for you to buy or sell if you're holding one of these stocks. So let's just click on Tesla and see what this sort of market sentiment analysis looks like. So we can see a little graph here, and the stock prices and the gold, and then we have the common volume in blue, and the positive sentiment versus negative sentiment. So ideally, you want to see mostly green and not as much of a red, right? So we can see whenever the positive sentiment typically is higher, the stock price starts going up, but this is not necessarily the case. And you also have to check on the common volume. So typically, when you have a lot of commenting going on, so right here, you're going to see something to happen. Either there's going to be an expected stock price increase, or there was a recent drop, or there's an imminent drop from occurring. So you kind of have to kind of look at all these three together and try to make your opinions. Sometimes when you have very low volume of commenting and the stock price is fairly stagnant, it might be the best time to kind of go in, because it's about to either go up a lot depending on where you're at, or drop. So I think that, for example, for this April 22nd, April 23rd, we can see it's a very low commenting period, mostly bullish. There's not so much negative sentiment for Tesla. And I think historically, if you read about this website, it'll tell you that Tesla usually would jump significantly after we have this little cool down of the media lines. And yeah, so that's kind of how you read this particular graph. And over here is just a graph of the stock price versus the mentions. So mentions is how often does this stock appears in discussions on these forums. So I don't want to say there's strong correlations between the two. So for example, I guess over here, since there's a lot of mentions, probably bullish sentiment mentions, we can see a little bit of an increase, and then there was almost no discussions happening here, the stock price slightly going down again. So it's this is just for you to kind of have an idea of how the two might be connected, but just like with anything in investing, nothing is a guarantee. You can't say that there's the two lines follow the similar trends. Okay, so back to home here. So that's the market sentiment. The most mentioned equities. This is also a super important page. Yeah, there's a little bar graph orientation of the most discussed to the least discussed. So the blue is the common volume. So right now, MVIS is the most discussed stock, right, on these forums. And I believe this is Microvision, if I'm not mistaken, which is basically like it's a laser technology company. And I'm not sure why it's in. I haven't done research on it to see why it's the #1 most discussed company, but this is kind of like how it puts it on your radar, and then you start doing your analysis. So we have MVIS, Tesla, GME, PLTR, Apple, and so on, and it kind of gives you a breakdown of the sentiment. So we have 91 versus 27. So it's mostly positive, bullish sentiments for this company, right? So we could see an increase in price. And here we have the different tickers of the most discussed companies. So we can try to find MVIS over here. So yeah, look at what's been happening lately. So this is in the past week. We see the stock price has jumped significantly. There was a lot of positive sentiment associated with it. So there is a correlation between, and look and see the common volume increasing significantly. But now we kind of received like a stagnant, I mean, this is a saturation point. So perhaps there's going to be a reversal following this. Anyways, and then if you scroll down here, it shows you all the different tickers with how many mentions of each one on these forums, right? I'm just going back to home. This website also discusses about options and certain strategies. We're not going to discuss this in this video. And last but not least, they have a one-stop watch list. So basically, I mean, every single investing website has some sort of a watch list. The way theirs is organized is by the price, the change, the upcoming earnings dates for each one of these companies, which is very useful to have. And then column on options, and then the bullish percentage. So Wall Street Bets bullish percent, basically that's the subreddit forums, and kind of how many of the comments are bullish towards that stock, right? So that's kind of what this is. Going back to here, there's a due diligence page. I found this pretty interesting. So it says here, get the latest in stock market due diligence research reports as Swaggy Stocks aggregates data for you. So they do kind of like a company analysis, discussing like revenues, future growth trends, et cetera, et cetera. Now, over here, they have a limited amount of companies that are being assessed. And for example, if there's a GME one, you click on it, there's a little disclaimer that this should not be a buy or sell recommendation. You can read exactly what the author of this website has to say about the balance sheet, some of the backing support, shorting options, conclusions, right? So again, an additional source for you to keep in mind, and you can provide your email address here and subscribe to get these news options as they come out. The earnings calendar, you can find that out from the watch list from before, but that's just an upcoming earnings. You can click on it, and then a competitor analysis. So the website also does like a little bit of a comparison between, so let's say pick Tesla, they'll show up the main competitors like Facebook, Amazon, apparently General Motors is too. Again, this is based on the category these companies are falling under. And it'll just show you a historical price chart, revenue, comparing the companies, operating margin, profit margin, cost of revenue, and so on. So it's just, this is not super useful because, I mean, unless you're taking two companies that are similar in size and, I don't know, it's very hard to compare like, for example, Apple with something like Tesla, or an even a smaller company, right? That's currently in the R&D stage. So the operating expenditures will be significantly higher in one and the other, and it doesn't really tell you much. But I mean, this is just it's a good tool to have if you want to take a look. So here under Wall Street Bets, we have the real-time sentiment, and what this is it tracks real-time the sentiment that are measured on these popular stocks forums. So, for example, in the past 24 hours, there were mostly bullish discussions on the stocks presented there. And this is kind of like from Wall Street Bets for that sub forum, the companies that are being discussed with how bullish the discussions were. So Apple was in the positive, AMD, Amazon, etc. And there's a little graph here showing the positive sentiment versus negative sentiment. And again, it just kind of, it's a representation of these values over here. And this is for, I guess they have two tickers here being presented. SPI is the S&P 500 index, and they have one for Tesla as well. The ticker sentiment, we've already covered this as before. Top YOLOs, you only live once. So these are, I guess, the top of the line companies that are constantly being discussed. And you can again click on one of the updates and see what comes out. For some reason mine, it doesn't really oh, there we go. I guess it sends you to the forum. You can click on it and check out the discussions if you're interested. Anyways, I will not worry about the options max pain. That would be for a separate video for those who are interested. And yeah, so I hope this tool was useful. It's something you can check quickly. Like I would spend 5-10 minutes on this just to kind of get an idea what the sentiment is, and then I'll do my own research for these stocks to hopefully identify the next big GME for you. All right, if you're in that kind of, if you like that kind of style of investing, if you like to be a bit riskier but potentially have a lot of opportunity for big gains. All right, if you found this video useful, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And once again, this is just for educational purposes. I'm not a licensed investor representative. I'm just doing this for fun and hopefully teaching you a thing or two about investing in general and helping you organize your portfolio a bit better or creating one if you don't have one already. All right, have a good one, guys. Bye.